right, so it's day 2 of free agency tampering period, and I wanted to discuss Carlton Davis just a little bit further and bring in some information about what the Tampa Bay writers have been saying about this trade. And I dug in a little bit on Carlton Davis's stats. So let's review it. Carlton Davis is going to be a Detroit Lion in 2024. He is on a 1-year deal. So on Monday, the team traded for the 6th-year cornerback Carlton Davis and its 6th-round draft choices in 2024 and 2025. The Lions, in exchange for Carlton Davis, gave up a 2024 third-round pick, number 92 overall, which is our second third-round pick in this year's draft. So Carlton Davis was the 63rd overall pick in 2018. And interestingly enough, I mean, he had his best season in 2020, the year that they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, where he totaled 4 interceptions, 18 passes defended, and 68 tackles. Winning a Super Bowl that season with Tom Brady obviously was the pinnacle of his career. And it hasn't been so bright, to be honest with you. I mean, there's some good seasons and some not so good seasons, but there's one underlying factor that has remained true, and that's this. Davis missed 5 games in 2023 due to injury. He now exits Tampa Bay with 16 missed games due to injury over the last 3 seasons. 23 missed games lifetime in the NFL out of a possible 99 regular season games and 9 playoff games throughout his career. What that equates to is 23% of the regular season games that he's been available to play, he missed due to injury. So since becoming a pro in 2018, he's missed 23% of the games. Now he's finishing his career in Tampa with 9 interceptions over 6 seasons with an average completion percentage against of 58.14%. Now he's got a passer rating against, and I've averaged this is all per Pro Football Reference, of 91.59% passer rating against. No sacks, no hurries, 1 pressure, 16 blitzes, and a 9.55% missed tackle rate, and 73 passes defended with 2 seasons in the top 10, which were his first 2 seasons, 2018 and 2019. He ranks 21st in passes defended against all active corners in the league currently, and 152nd overall against all corners that have ever played the game. He was entering his final season of a 3-year, $45 million deal that he signed 2 years ago. And he was set to earn a $14 million base salary in 2024 with a total cash flow of $14.5 million that the Lions will absorb in 2024 unless there's any additional details that come out about this deal. Let's bring in some audio. Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay beat writer, and let's hear what he has to say.
And I guess we'll see his press conference at some point down the road, but I really do wonder what Carlton's reaction was when he got the phone call and said, "Hey, you're going to Detroit." It's just that it's a humbling game that way, and yet
it is. But you're going to a team that,
a really good football team,
had a shot at making the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, they beat you.
The Bucs did too. You won in your division, so
but they beat you.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you went to a team that you don't think has a shot this year.
No. They did him a solid. They sent him someplace where he can win and possibly win a Super Bowl ring, and that's I think that's pretty key. Yeah, Carlton Davis goes to the Detroit Lions for the Lions' 3rd-round pick in 2024. In exchange, the Bucs also give up a couple of 6th-round picks in 2024 and 2025. So Carlton Davis plus a couple of 6th-rounders for a 3rd-rounder. And I got to be honest with you, I like Carlton Davis. I like him a lot as a guy. And he's a really good player when healthy. And that's really the key to this whole thing. He's in the final year of a contract, pays him around $20 million a year. He's played like an paid like an elite quarter, hasn't always played that way. I think, to have 9 career interceptions in 6 years is not what you're looking for somebody that's, considered what he is financially. However, the bigger problem is the games he misses. This guy is hurt all the time. And, he has missed 16 or 17 games just in the last 3 years alone. So if you remember last year, it was either him or Jamel Dean was out almost every week, and Zion McCallum would fill in for whoever wasn't there. Well, you know what? They feel like Zion McCallum is ready to step into a starting job. He doesn't cost them as much money as Carlton Davis, and he had some draft value, Carlton Davis did. So they unload him. And I know that the Lions needed to get better in the secondary, and they get instantly better, right, with Carlton. But how many games will he play? How many plays will he make in terms of interceptions and things like that? And, oh, by the way, you save a whole lot of money not having to pay him. So I don't know. I think they got good value for him. I'm not going to say that they fleeced the Lions on this deal, but to me, to get even a late third round pick or whatever it is, and give up 2 6s, which you frankly hope don't make your team anyway, I think it's a solid deal. If you're in fact convinced that Carlton is not part of your future as you thought he was. Yeah, and I don't know how much stock you put into these guys. I mean, I listen and read Pro Football Focus that does their rankings and their gradings of players each week. They had Carlton Davis ranked 68th among 127 graded corners. And that last season, and that's the lowest grade he's had since his rookie year. And so no one's been overly impressed with him. And again, if he's not on the field, he's no use to you anyway. So to me, for them to get value of a third round pick, you hope that the 6 rounders you gave up weren't going to make the club anyway. It does happen. I think it's good. Now, Carlton's going to be very motivated. I think it's a good deal for him too, because he's been given up on, and he's been sent to a really good football team in the Lions that made it to the NFC Championship game. And frankly, their secondary was riddled. So you can understand why the Lions are like, look, we're all in. We were that close. We had a lead. We just couldn't stop them when we needed to. And maybe Davis is a big part of the reason why they would. So it's sort of a good deal, I think, for both teams. I would kind of favor the Bucs because you're not going to re-sign him. You had him for just 1 year, and are you going to have him for the whole year or not? You really don't know based on his history. So
yesterday I was pretty hard on this trade. And I'm going to stick to my guns on this one because, quite honestly, giving up a third-round draft pick in this year's draft where there are plenty of good quality players that will be available, it just doesn't make sense to me. Brad Holmes preaches every single year that they're going to build through the draft, that they're not going to go out and acquire any big-time free agents. And what I've been saying for the last month is that the Lions wouldn't target any top-tier free agents, that they would enter the second-tier market, pick up a defensive end, a cornerback, potentially a defensive tackle, and maybe a safety in free agency, because we've got a lot of holes to fill. So he at least, Brad Holmes has at least done that. He's at least stuck to the plan of filling some holes through free agency in the second-tier market. But he's paying darn near top-tier money, almost $14.5 million. And giving up a third-round pick in 2024, yeah, you're receiving 2 6th-round picks in return, but those 6th-round picks, they're not worth anything, really. And as you'll hear in the audio that I'm going to bring in just a few moments, you hope that 6th-round picks don't make your team. The caveat there is that Brad Holmes is one of the best drafters in the league. So it doesn't make sense to me that he would give up a third-round pick in this year's draft, knowing that it's slim pickings. And you've got to get in and get out and navigate your way through this draft to find the players that can help your team for the long term, which is building through the draft is how I would do it 1,000% of the time. And then I would pluck those game changers in free agency and the trade deadline to help your team out, for that season to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the end goal here. So what I have a feeling on is that Brad Holmes is banking on the fact that Carlton Davis has shown that he can lock down, some of the bigger, better wide receivers in the league, but he really hasn't done it on a regular basis. And he's missing way too many games. If he were to miss a quarter of the games this season, would that be worth $14.5 million and a third-round pick gone? Now, what's going to happen after this season? Let's say Carlton Davis comes out and has an amazing season. Lions potentially make it all the way back to the NFC title game. Now, are you going to re-sign him to another, massive deal, 3 years, $45 million, which is probably what he's going to ask for again? He won't be, really out of his prime after this year. and he's probably going to be due another second, top tier contract. So those are the questions that have to be answered. The biggest question I have is the Lions have had a problem with injured players, and it's been an issue for a very long time. It was one of my biggest questions when Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were coming to this team that I had. Are you going to continue down this path of bargain basement, type picks and trades or free agents, and the draft, whatever, just to reap the high reward, but also high risk? Are we going to continue that trend? Because when you look around the league, the teams that win don't do that. They go after the guys that there's still always that potential that they can get injured with every player. Why compound the issue with players that have a history of injury? So that's why I'm hard on this trade is somebody that has missed so much time in the NFL, almost 25%. Almost a quarter of the games, 25% nearly. That just doesn't make sense to me. And then when you evaluate, the stats, the stats are what they are. I don't produce them. Pro Football Reference, PFF, places like that, StatMuse, whomever I use, they compile the stats. And the stats will tell you that 9 interceptions over 6 seasons for a top tier corner, or what is going to be your number one corner, it's not cutting it. That's just not what you would expect out of a top tier corner. So look, I wish Carlton Davis nothing but the best. He's a Detroit Lion. I've got to root for the guy, right? Might even buy a jersey, but I'm not high on this trade. And I'm going to stick to that. You can hate it, love it, like it, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. My goal here is to give you the information, and the information is this. He's missed 23 games out of a possible 99 regular season games. He has a 9.5% missed tackle rate. He does do well defending the pass. And we hope that, he's able to do that again this season. He's also been playing largely in his zone scheme with Tampa Bay. That's what they run. A lot of cover 3. So he's now going to be moving to a scheme that is trying to do man-to-man more often, man cover schemes. So it's a big change for him. Now, when he was coming out of college, he was known as a man cover corner or man-to-man corner into his zone scheme. Hasn't had the best seasons that you would expect, to be a top tier corner, but he also hasn't had an opportunity to maybe utilize his strengths. But my question is, after 6 seasons of playing in what has been his zone scheme, for the most of his career, is he able to transition? Is he going to have a tough time transitioning? The things that you're looking at on tape when you're evaluating a man corner is, can they stay sticky? Do they have oily hips? Can they flip and run? Can they cut and drive and work back to the football? Can they mirror well? And at the end of the day, can they make plays on the ball? Can they win the 50-50 reps? Do they allow a bunch of yak? Those are all the questions that we're going to have to answer later on, because we don't know those answers now.